Okay, so I've tested more than 100 different webcams, and I may have finally found one that has a large enough sensor. It's 1 inch, and it has a good enough microphone, and it can also be used as a standalone camera with an onboard battery that shoots 4K 30 FPS, and without using a capture card, it can transmit 1080p over USB-C and can be purchased right now for as low as $150. Now, you might be thinking it's a Sony ZV1, but you'd be wrong because it's actually the Canon PowerShot V10. And before I go any further, this is an unsponsored test and review. I paid for this camera with my own money, and that's kind of a theme for my channel. So what tends to separate the serious streamers or YouTubers or remote workers on Teams or Zoom are really using proper cameras that use capture cards like the Elgato Camlink. They'll use dummy batteries typically to give them power and also have good glass or lenses. And that's what I'm using actually right now. I'm doing that on purpose, and I'll explain why in a second. But not everyone wants to deal with all of this. Let me show you what the webcam looks like using the PowerShot V10 in webcam mode, just so you can get a taste of what it looks like and what it sounds like. So this camera that you're looking at right here is the Canon PowerShot V10, and I'm connected over USB-C using kind of the webcam mode in the camera into my OBS environment. Now, if I film and record into SD media, I can record up to 4K 30 or 1080p 60, but going over USB-C, it basically limits me to 1080p 30 frames per second. In terms of settings, I have set autofocus to a region just where my eyes are, because it was hunting a little bit. But the nice thing is it's got a built-in battery. It's got the ability to kind of be used while out and on the go. And so it's pretty versatile in terms of the camera itself. So again, this is the Canon PowerShot V10. And I really wanted to start out this video using an APS-C camera on purpose so that you can actually see that there's still a difference. And I think the APS-C cameras will still create a nicer image, but when it comes to directly outputting over USB, I believe that manufacturers like Sony that I'm using right now intentionally handicap their cameras, even their new ones like the ZV-E10 Mark II, when you're using them in USB or webcam mode to just 1280 by 720 or 720p resolution, because these devices tend to produce the best results when used with SD cards and filming and recording locally. So I've actually tested this out with my Sony cameras in the video that's linked on the screen here, and this one's actually feeding at 1080p 30 frames per second, the Canon PowerShot V10, which doesn't sound super impressive, but it's all that you tend to need for remote work or streaming, and many of those apps actually max out at 1080p at 30 frames per second or less. So what impressed me also about the PowerShot V10 was its onboard microphone. Now normally, onboard microphones in cameras or webcams suck, and they tend to capture a lot of room echo, whether they're in webcams or in proper expensive mirrorless cameras. So now let me go over the specs for this camera. So first, it's got a nice build quality. It feels really great in the hand. It's not slippery at all. You know, it has a built-in kickstand so that you can actually place it on a flat surface, just in terms of how it looks when the kickstand's out. You can see it here. Of course, there's a 1/4-20 thread on the bottom that you'll need if you use this with a tripod, and if you use it as a webcam, you're going to want something like a 1/4-20 monitor mount, and I've tested this using the $10 Makose 1/4-20 monitor mount to make sure it works, and I'll throw a picture up on the screen with it on a monitor and also a link to that mount in the description. Now, I often say that sensor size for cameras is key, and as mentioned, the sensor in the V10 is exactly 1 inch, which is still only about 30% of the surface area of your typical APS-C camera. So the Sony ZV1s also have a 1 inch sensor, and some premium smartphones have a 1/1.1 inch sensor, which is almost an inch, and the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra still has the largest sensor in a proper webcam, but it's 1/1.2 inches, and that webcam still sells for $300, and it's not portable. There's no battery in it or SD card or any way to capture video from that device if you're kind of on the road or not with your computer. So Canon really knows how to do autofocus and color balance well with things like face detection and accurate skin tones, but there's no low aperture option or bokeh effects, so you'll have to do that in software. And this, by the way, is the same for the ZV1 as well as the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra. It does have an ultra wide field of view. They say it's 19 millimeters and 35 millimeter camera equivalents. In webcam terms, I'll just translate that to it looks like it's around 100 degrees or slightly more in terms of field of view, which is much wider than some of the wider angle webcams like the Logitech Brio 4K, for example, or others that have a wide 100-degree field of view. Now, truth be told, I'm not actually a huge fan of ultra-wide field of view cameras, and I think the sweet spot is probably around 80 to 85 degrees, which is basically closer to straight 35mm using 35mm lens equivalent terms. Now, the big question here is whether it's worth the money. So, if you're open, by the way, to a refurbished unit, they're going on Canon.com's website right now for about $150, which is really, really inexpensive because they sold for, I think, $500 MSRP in the beginning. Otherwise, a new one will set you back about $350 at the moment. This product's about a year and a half old, and that's what I personally paid for it. Now, I wouldn't pay anything more than $350 for it because I think you're starting to get into quality used APS-C camera prices at that point. Now let me tell you what I don't like about this one, and there are just 3 things for me that I don't really like. So first, it still has that kind of webcam or phone look to some extent, and I think that that's purely down to the sensor size. It looks better than every webcam that I've tested, but it's not as good as an APS-C camera, as you can kind of see here, comparing the footage that you're seeing now with its footage with decent glass. It does do a better job, in my opinion, than a good phone, and is a whole lot less fiddly to use with a tripod if you're just a one-person crew. Now second, there's no way to protect the lens from fingerprints or scratches like using a lens cap, for example. You need to buy something for that, and there are a few aftermarket kind of adhesive on options, but I think that there should be something in the box for that. Now third, when you use it plugged in as a webcam into USB-C, there's no indicator on the device or on the screen itself that it's charging. It's just a normal kind of camera looking full battery icon with the diagonal lines. So I left mine plugged in and running for science in webcam mode on OBS for a whole day just to make sure the power level didn't drop. And the good news is it didn't drop, but I think there should probably be a little lightning bolt or a little power plug icon or something to put your mind at ease when it's actually charging. Now what I do like about it is the size. So I use this $14 hard shell case when I'm traveling, and it will store a USB-C cable, the USB-A to USB-C adapter, the monitor mount, and a small wired lav mic in case I do need it. Now I tend to travel with a folding tripod like this one from Ulanzi. Now it's nice because it goes to around 6+ feet in terms of overall height, around 2 meters, and it takes up very little space in my luggage. And with those 2 items, you've got a pretty nice portable filming kit that also works as a top-tier webcam when you're at home or in the office or traveling. So that's the Canon PowerShot V10 used as a webcam, and on purpose I didn't cover things like outdoor tests or use cases where I'm recording onto SD media because there's a lot of those reviews already on YouTube. So hopefully this video helped you in terms of finding an all-in-one camera for work and for when you're on the go. If you liked it, be sure to give me a like. Those are always free and welcome during the holidays especially. And of course, subscribe to my channel for more webcam and other camera tips, microphone tests, and things like remote work or streaming software. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.